Hello and welcome to the Paris Fintech Forum Communities Programme. I'm Elliot Gotkin, I'm a journalist and with Laurent Nisri, co-host of this exclusive video interview series produced with the support of Solaris Bank, Rise and BPI France. Now, for all the devastation wreaked by COVID-19 on economies, people's health and finances, many fintechs had a pretty good pandemic, with growth surpassing all expectations. Online payment companies in particular did especially well. Case in point, France's Payplug. Well, the company's co-founder and CEO is Antoine Grimaud, who joins me now. Great to see you, Antoine.
Great to see you too.
So tell us more about Payplug.
Yes, sure. So Payplug was founded by myself and Camille in 2012, so it's been 9 years now, with a mission to make payments simple for SMEs, and more specifically, online payment. So we did that for the last 9 years now. So trying to make it super easy to integrate, super easy to manage, efficient, very user friendly. That's how we differentiate with good plugins also for all the CMS and all the integrations that the merchants might require. So we've done that for the past 9 years. We now have about 15,000 merchants using Payplug. And we are present in France mostly, but also in Italy, thinking about further international expansion now. And indeed, as you said, we had a tremendous year over the past 14 months now since the beginning of the pandemic, because we've seen a lot of traditional physical commerce moving to online. And so as an online payment player, we have benefited from that. Also,
can you give us some figures on the kind of growth you experienced?
Yes, we had, I think we doubled our volumes between February and April 2020. So just in 2 months, the first lockdown that we had in France made our figure double. So we have organic growth, which is pretty good, but not that kind of doubling in 2 months.
And I mean, you're not the only payment provider out there, not even the only French-focused provider out there. So how do you differ from other payment providers? Why would an SME come to you rather than someone else?
Yeah, there are a couple of reasons. The first one, as I said, it's super simple. We are very much focused on the user experience, and that's one of the main part of our value proposition, to be super focused on the merchant easy experience. The second one that I haven't mentioned is that we have made a move to omni-channel about 2 years ago, which was pretty lucky because we started to work with both merchants who are present in the real physical world and merchants who are present online, and merchants who have both needs and need physical payment and online payment. So now we are serving both of those needs, and we see many online merchants moving to offline and vice versa. So that's another key point. The third one is we are really good on buy now, pay later, which is something that we see a lot of demand right now. It's natively embedded within the Payplug solution. You natively have buy now, pay later options within online payment with your online payment solutions. And the last point I would add, but it's more specific to our French market, is that we have very, very strong proximity and very strong ecosystem with all the French merchant sector, I would say. So the web agencies, the CMS, all the providers that the merchant might use, we know them, we work with them, we have a good relationship with them. And I think it's important in what we do, because payment is just a small piece of what the merchant is using. So being able to work with all the other pieces that the merchant is using is a strong differentiator compared with the large international players who don't have such a footprint within our market.
I think there is one other differentiator, which perhaps you didn't mention, which is that in contrast to many of the fintechs we speak to here, you are part of a legacy banking group.
Absolutely.
How did that help or hinder you over these past 12 to 18 months? And how did you help Natixis, which is your owner, which itself is part of BCP E Group?
Yes, great question. I would not say it's it's a differentiator because I was thinking more of a value proposition and product, but it's certainly something that is important to us because, as you said, we've been acquired by Natixis Group, so BPCE, a very large European bank, 4 years ago. So it's super important to us because it brings a lot of help in more industrial matters, I would say, regulatory matters, the relationship that we have with the schemes, for instance, the credit card schemes, as you can imagine, when you are a very large bank talking to Visa, it's very different from when you are a small fintech talking to Visa. So that makes a big difference from that perspective. It also opens us distribution network because Banque Populaire and Caisse d'Épargne, so which constitutes the BPCE group, is the second largest retail bank in France, so they have access to a lot of merchants that we would be happy to address, and so they contribute to our development, and so that's I guess that's the two main reasons, but maybe a third one, the most counterintuitive one, is that they have made everything possible to preserve our agility, our tech focus, our product-centric approach by giving us a strong independence, and so that's super important to be autonomous because we are very different from a big bank, and that's the reason we exist. And so it's been a win-win relationship that we've had for the past 4 years, which is quite unique, I think.
Okay, and in terms of your own personal story, you studied at Harvard Business School and also France's elite École Polytechnique. Was it always the plan to found your own business?
Yeah, I guess so. I've always wanted to start a business. I just didn't know when and what business. And maybe the story of the genesis of this project is that we were at Harvard Business School with Camille, the other co-founder, and he came up with this idea by observing all the new fintechs that were starting in the early 2010s in the US. You had Square, which was the most visible one, I think, at this time. So we observed Square by helping very small merchants to start selling with through credit cards, like taxi drivers and this kind of very small merchants. So it made them accept payment in a simple way. So we saw this example and many other ones in the US, and it inspired us to go back to France and start this company. And so I think that's the starting point. I knew it was going to come at some point, and it came that way when we were in the US just before coming back to France.
And as part of your career path, you were 4 years at the French Development Agency. You then had a brief stint, I think, in private equity and then co-founded Payplug. But within 5 years of co-founding Payplug, you were bought by Natixis. Was it easy to let go? Was it hard to sell? Was it great? This is everything we dreamed of?
Well, it's always a big question to sell your business. I mean, it's one of the most important questions you have in an entrepreneur journey, obviously. So it was not an easy one, but it made a lot of sense for all the stakeholders, I would say, and by that I mean the shareholders. We had raised funds 3 times before being acquired, and I mean the deal was good for our investors. It was good for the founders, for Camille and I, because we remained with this level of autonomy that I mentioned and the ability to continue to grow the company. It was good for the company because it had financial resources. Additional financial resources and autonomy, and the other reasons I mentioned, access to regulators and to a new distribution channel. And it was good for the employees as well, because I think everyone saw that as an opportunity for the company to continue thriving, and so the deal made perfect sense for every stakeholder. So at the end, the decision was easy, but along the process, it was a lot of questions that came along the way, as you can imagine.
And given where valuations are today in fintech, do you think maybe you sold too early?
Yeah, maybe. You never know. Maybe the world might have been different. The story might have been different for us if we hadn't sold at this point in time. But it's honestly, it's impossible to answer now. But it's true, the valuation are crazy. And when we sold in 2017, it was not at this level of craziness. Now the question is, how long is it going to last? And is it a bubble? And I mean, all those questions that are discussed in the Paris Fintech Forum and elsewhere right now. But no, I can't tell.
Okay. All right. Well, look, Antoine, don't go away because we are going to take a very quick break, after which we're going to continue our conversation with Antoine Grimaud, co-founder and CEO of Payplug. Welcome back, and don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. Now, Antoine, I've got a few more questions for you about kind of fintech in general. Now, as we've discussed, Payplug was acquired just over 4 years ago. Given what we've seen these past 12 to 18 months, do you think more mergers and acquisitions, takeovers, what have you, in the space are inevitable?
Yeah, I guess so. We've seen a lot of consolidation over the past few years in the fintech and especially in the payment fintech world. And I think they're going to get more because we see right now by working with the group that has acquired us, but also with other fintechs that have been acquired by this group, that you can get economies of scale, you can get better value proposition by working together. At the end of the day, our business is a volume business, so getting in a volume gives you scale and gives you ability to get a better value proposition, better value for money, and so on. So it's very likely, I guess, to see more and more consolidation coming in. And also, I see from the inside that the bank have a strong appetite right now for a technology company because they've seen that technology is not their core business, that maybe it should be their core business, or maybe they need more technology to properly do their core business. And so that's maybe one of the reasons valuations are so high, because the banking world has a strong appetite in doing more M&A and more acquisition of fintechs right now.
And the success and growth of fintech and payment providers in particular hasn't gone unnoticed by big tech. Do you think that the likes of Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple are going to be doubling down in the payment space? Do you think we're going to see more, whether it's acquisitions or more products coming out of them that are going to perhaps compete with you?
Yes, I'm sure. They're going to be more. I think the banks are worried a little bit obviously about those giant tech companies coming into their playground. So obviously the Googles, the Amazons, the Facebooks are going to do more payment business because there are lots of revenue synergy between their activity and payment. For each of them, it's true in different ways. So it makes a lot of sense, and we see it already. We've seen a lot of moves from those actors into the payment business. So I'm sure there are going to be more. Whether it's going to be more organic, creating new products from the inside, or acquisition, it's really hard to say and depends on their strategies. But of course, it's a no-brainer. There are going to be more payment product and payment business within those giant tech companies.
And whether it's ransomware or good old-fashioned hacking, fraudsters seem to also be enjoying this kind of digitization revolution, if you like. What do fintechs and banks need to do to stay one step ahead?
Well, I think the easiest reason for now in Europe, at least, is a PSD2. We see a lot of effort to comply right now with this new regulation. As you know, the PSD2, as you certainly know, is about making strong authentication, a much wider adoption within the EU. And so all players like us are adopting those new workflows of payments to make proper, strong authentication. And this is supposed to reduce fraud. So that's part of the answer. But now, once you say that, everyone knows that fraud is going to move to something else, whether it's other payment system, crypto, or whatever other workflow you can imagine to do it. So, well, I guess that's the business of many players right now, because when there's a need, there's an opportunity, and this need of fraud protection creates a lot of opportunities for fintech that are specializing right now on addressing those new and those future fraud schemes that's going to arrive after the PSD2 implementation has made it move to other places.
And just very, very briefly, if you can you just maybe share what you think perhaps the next big innovation in payments is going to be?
Well, from my perspective, for the closest thing I see from my business is the development of online to offline, offline to online. It's the transformation of commerce is something very powerful, and it's something that is arriving to the SME market. When I say that, it might seem obvious because already everyone has already experienced online to offline kind of workflow, but with giant retailers. But now I think one of the biggest transformation is it's going to come to SMEs, and you're going to get used through all kind of buying experience to those kind of online to offline, offline to online workflows. So I think that's something that's going to transform the way we do commerce. So it's specific about commerce. But then if you think to the bigger picture, obviously, I guess blockchain technology is going to be something very, very powerful in every way we do business and we consume in a few years from now.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly be keeping a close eye on this space. But Antoine, I'm really sorry we've run out of time, but I really want to just thank you, Antoine Grimaud, co-founder and CEO of Payplug, for joining me today.
Thank you, Elliot.
And I'll be back again next week with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We do hope you'll be able to join us again then. In the meantime, you can keep up to date with all the exclusive interviews and content from the Paris Fintech Forum Communities Programme via www.parisfintechforum.com. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.